Weirdos, I'm Felicia and I like scary movies, and today we're talking about The Invisible Man. I just got back from the theater and I loved it and it was scary. So I will just start by saying I was very excited to see this movie for two main reasons. One, Elisabeth Moss. I just love her in every horror movie she's in, and if she's in a scary movie, I'm gonna go see it. And two, I was very interested in how Blumhouse would approach rebooting a Universal monster movie, how it would go, and if it gave us hope for them to potentially do more of these down the road. Now, to start us off, this movie was written and directed by Leigh Whannell. He also directed Upgrade and the third Insidious film, neither of which I have seen. So sorry about that. Wish I could comment further. But I do need to see Upgrade. I've heard a lot of really good things about that and people putting it on different top 10 lists, and I'm like, I need to watch it. Now, a little bit of plot for you. When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life, Cecilia is Elisabeth Moss's character, and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone no one can see. Now, I loved this movie. I thought it was pretty freaking incredible. First of all, it's a very well-made film. It is well written, well directed. The editing had me on the edge of my seat. The sound, everything about it. It is a well-made, well-crafted horror film. That, right out the gate, great. The second thing I loved was Elisabeth Moss's character. Cecilia has to go on such an intense journey in this movie. This is a movie about abuse, okay? So she is the victim of abuse. Her ex, Adrian, was physically and emotionally abusive towards her, and the beginning of the movie is sort of her escape, and we see that in the trailer, so this is a spoiler-free review, just to say, spoiler-free, but I will mention things that are in the trailer. So she basically tries to escape him, and that is the beginning of the movie, her trying to get away from him, get out of the relationship, and from that first sequence, we see that she is this, like, super strong, brave woman that has been through hell. And then when Adrian supposedly dies, what I love that they do is everything is not immediately better. She is not better. She has PTSD from the relationship, which I think this whole movie is really talking about abuse, the power of abuse, physical and emotional, and the trauma that people experience well after the abuse has ended. And I think this character in this story represents that in such an honest and helpful way. Something that stood out to me that I even wrote down the line when they said it. But a character says to her, and this is after Adrian has supposedly died, says to Cecilia, Adrian's gonna haunt you if you let him. And they say that a couple of times, like she's letting this happen. If you could just let this go, you're letting this happen to you. You're letting him stay with you. He's dead. He doesn't matter anymore. And I thought that was so interesting because I feel like that is the view you can have on abuse victims sometimes, where it's like when it's over, you want them to be better, but it doesn't work that way. It's like they are going to have trauma, they're going to have PTSD, and I feel like they just show it really well in this movie how that happens. And then when Cecilia starts to experience these strange occurrences, it does really feel like this big metaphor for like how that abuse stays with you and haunts you and all these things. I think it's just very, very well done. I also really liked the rest of the cast as well. I want to particularly call out one actor, that is Aldous Hodge, and he, towards the beginning of the film, kind of becomes Cecilia's, like, caretaker almost. She stays at his house, he feeds her, he gives her a room, all these things while she is recovering, and he's also a police officer, so he plays a few different, he's a big part of this movie for multiple reasons. But I just loved this actor and everything about this character, because even him, so obviously as we have with all these sort of movies where there's this trope of like gaslighting, the female, everyone basically thinking she's crazy and trying to convince her that she's crazy basically because what she is saying is so absurd to the other characters, they just cannot believe it. And he even falls into that trap throughout the movie as well, where he can't even believe her. And I think that is another thing about the movie, is people being able to believe the victim. And that comes up a lot. Even with the relationship between Cecilia and her sister, which it comes up throughout the movie, it seems like that Cecilia hadn't even revealed much of anything about the abuse she has experienced to anyone. And so once she kind of broke out of it and is trying to explain this to everyone, everyone is kind of blindsided and confused. They had no idea all this was going on. During the relationship of Cecilia and Adrian, it becomes clear that he had really isolated her from all of her friends and family, and that's sort of the main reason he could hold all this power over her. And then that's mirrored later on throughout the movie with how he tries to torture her from the grave, if you will. And the next thing I just think is fun. So if you don't know, Paranormal Activity was one of Blumhouse's first, or I guess their first feature that came out and made them a bunch of money. And there are a couple of nods to Paranormal Activity in this, which makes sense because in Paranormal Activity there is a demon you cannot see, and in this there is an invisible man. So one that I'll note is they have one of the classic moments of like the sheet being pulled off the sleeping woman, that kind of thing. And then we also have a moment where Cecilia pours something all over the ground to be able to see his footsteps, and it reminded me so much when they do like the baby powder in Paranormal Activity, trying to like get the demon footsteps, and how like scary that is when you finally see it. But this movie, I would say, obviously a much larger budget than Paranormal Activity, but I will say they did such fun, creative things with the fact that he is invisible, that I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't really thinking about that going in, but some of the stuff they did, I was like, whoa, that was really good. And that's it, guys. I don't want to spoil too much. I really loved this movie a lot. There's a few of my like favorite moments that I want to talk about, but I'm not gonna do it because I just want you guys to go see it. But I am here to tell you, you will gasp multiple times at multiple scenes. So I'm just gonna leave you with that. But I hope you guys check this out. Let me know if you check it out this weekend. It does open today. I'm gonna post this really late night on Thursday, so it's opening already. But I hope you check it out and let me know if you do. And I guess that's that. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button and hang out with me all the time. But that's it, y'all. Have a nice screen. Bye.